This week on Dance of Joy, we meet our podcast doppelgangers, we play TV theme song Heardle, and we talk about our favorite Season 4 episodes. All that and more on this special season break episode of Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers Rewatch Podcast. Hello and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers Rewatch Podcast. My name is Sophia Javid. I'm one of your co-hosts, and joining me as always is my brother and my co-host. And today we have our season break special. We've just wrapped season 4. What's up, Imran?
I can't believe we've gotten through 4 seasons of Perfect Strangers. Halfway through this journey.
We're halfway through.
This is the 75th episode, and I estimated there's like 150 episodes of the show.
Just about, yeah.
We're throwing in a couple of season break. This is the 3rd season break special. You may remember the last time we had a fun guest. This week, we also have a fun guest for this season break special.
Surprise guest coming up later, a little bit later, but let's talk about season 4 that we just wrapped. There were a lot of great episodes in season 4. We were talking just before recording tonight about which ones were our favorite, and we had a hard time, didn't we?
What are some of the highlights? Because looking back, there's some solid physical comedy
There are
setups.
some classic episodes from the ones like that sparked our memories.
So let's start there. Up a Lazy River Part 1 has the fantastic line when they're in the
goose
boat
down in this bag.
What?
There's a goose down in this bag?
Feathers.
That is
Goose feathers.
goose feathers.
And
That
they're
is
just-
up there in my list of those things that stuck in my brain
And it's
from
just
childhood.
2 heads poking out of
Yep.
a sleeping bag. It's hilarious.
And then when they did the little inchworm thing in the sleeping bag.
That's definitely a highlight. This season also gave us the amazing Piano Movers.
Piano Movers, another classic.
Just beautiful, straight up physical comedy, moving the piano up and down the stairs, piano coming alive and hunting them down.
And also, as we talked about, a classic buddy comedy, physical comedy situation that we've seen through the years on different shows.
Yeah, they do the best. They're doing their best Laurel and Hardy in that one. What's another one? I will say we also got Carl Winslow in Crime Busters, the one and
Love
only
Carl Winslow, Reginald
appearance
Vell
of-
Johnson.
Yeah, and then next season they go off into Family Matters.
We had the excellent games people play when they're on the game show,
Oh my God,
and they
that
get
is hilarious.
messy and they ride the toilet chair thing.
I mean, it brings up memories of Double Dare.
Yep.
And just bobbing for bananas in the chocolate pudding. Oh, that's a fantastic one. What else we got? We have
Come Fly With Me.
Come Fly With
Balky
Me.
and Larry
have to be flight attendants.
Have to be flight attendants when Jennifer and Marianne get sick.
And that one's great because they're actually really good at it for a second, doing a little Tom Cruise cocktail move.
Until the turbulence.
Until the turbulence hits, and they don't wait.
We've got Balky being Elvis
Yes.
in The King and I.
Yeah, the hip thrusting uncontrollably throughout the whole episode. He does do a great flip of character.
Yes.
Bronson Pinchot. And even that last episode with the arranged marriage. It wasn't the funniest, but it was a very touching episode.
Yes. Wait, we missed a few really good ones. This season was really top notch,
right?
For classics. We have Knock Knock Roller Rock.
Oh, of course, the Maposian bowling version. That's knock.
Knock. The best way to bowl.
Next time I go bowling, I'm definitely doing that. Just freaking people out.
Balky and Larry went to jail a couple of times. One time in this season.
Yes, they're climbing bars. They're great singing and dancing in there. How about that old gang of mine? The biker gang episode.
Oh, the biker gang episode.
Getting hung up on the hooks and reaching for the chair.
Yes.
One of the funniest things I've seen.
Balky trying to get an old lady.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She's your old lady. But so looking back, season 4, I mean, they're, again, the middle of the show's run. They're at the peak of popularity. TGIF begins officially when they return in the fall for season 5. So everything's hitting right now for them.
Yeah.
They're huge at this point.
There's one more I'll mention.
Oh, there's another one.
Just a gigolo. We had Larry cross-dressing in his best
he looked fantastic as
Dorothy outfit.
As a Doris Roberts type, who was also on this season, and she was their maid.
Yes.
And then a bunch of episodes where Larry's plan works.
Yeah, that's right. Some redeeming episodes for Larry. A lot of great lessons, a lot of great character bonding. Bonding. Male bonding.
Oh, bonding. What's he trying to say?
Excellent wordplay throughout. Great physical comedy. It was really a great season.
Yeah, spanning 1988 to spring of 1989 brings back a lot of memories of what I was doing that year and TV shows. And the show, it's just amazing how it still holds up, which is something we are going to discuss with our special guest. Let's get to him. Okay, joining us now, listener, is one of the two hosts of the only other Perfect Strangers podcast in existence.
What? Yes, there's another Perfect Strangers podcast.
Unprecedented to have them both on one show. Aaron from the Don't Be Ridiculous, a Perfect Strangers podcast. How are you?
I'm good. It is good to be here. Yeah, and you guys, you're way ahead of us. But I've noticed that you guys definitely keep it shorter, and I guess I'm like the Terrence Malick of Perfect Strangers podcast.
You're going long diatribes. We give it
yeah. We go, I mean, it's got to be like lyrical and like ruminations on existence and stuff like that.
We try to catch ourselves on our tangents.
Yeah, sometimes we
redirect.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting close to starting on season 2, and we are definitely going to work on maybe tightening that down a little bit. Yeah, but I think I'm going to blame the fact that we started doing all that during lockdown. So like we were just all starved for interaction at that point.
Yeah,
so.
That's interesting. We'd love to hear sort of your story of how you came to do this podcast. We also started ours during lockdown.
Yeah.
And let's see how much overlap there is in our origin stories here.
Yeah, tell the listener a little bit about your show and your co-host.
Yeah. So Don't Be Ridiculous is a Perfect Strangers podcast that myself and my friend from high school, Fabian Falcon, real name.
That's a great name.
It is. He's just fantastic. He and I got to talking probably 2019 or early 2020 because my wife and I had been watching the show on Hulu and kind of just enjoying, like being really kind of surprised that it held up, and honestly probably was funnier to us now than when we were, we relate a lot more to Larry as adults.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Even though Larry's supposed to be 24 when the show starts.
Yes. 32-year-old Markland Baker. But yeah, so we related just to his, adulting problems. And so I was talking to my friend Fabian just about something else, and I mentioned we were watching it, and he was like, I love that. And so he started watching it again, and then we were just like, I've been dragging my feet. Like anything, I have an idea. I spend the next 12 years almost doing it, but I've been working on like doing some form of a podcast for a while, and I was like, this will be much simpler, which technically it still is than the other one I wanted to do. But we just got together and, again, slowly got around to finding some guests. And I think I've listened to a lot of Movies by Minute podcasts, going back to Star Wars Minute when that was kind of the only one. And I enjoyed the changing out of the third wheel, like the guest. So we were like going to really try to get those first 6 episodes in with the guest. And we did have to double up and use a guest twice. But she was so great.
Who are your guests?
Our guests are the first one. So episode 1 was just me and Fabian. Episode 2 was the Dolly Parton episode. So I chose the only person I could choose. My friend and former boss, Caitlin, who lives in Seattle now, but she's like a Dolly super fan.
Ah.
Oh, nice.
So we went deep on Dolly, like trivia and Dolly. Like we learned a lot about her altruistic stuff, all the book, the library, the book and education programs she's done in the Appalachians.
She is an amazing person, like to this day. It's wild.
Yeah, we talked about Rhinestone, if you guys remember that. The time that Dolly Parton and Sylvester Stallone were a couple in a romantic comedy.
Oh,
wow.
that's right. It was Stallone and Pardon in Rhinestone. That's right.
Amazing.
She turns a cabbie into a country singer, and it's Stallone.
I don't know if you're watching Seth MacFarlane's The Orville sci-fi show. She has a cameo in the most recent episode.
Oh, we haven't started this season yet.
This season is very good. And Dolly Parton is in an episode, and how they get
fantastic.
her in. Yeah, it's
That's
so
amazing.
funny.
That's fantastic. That's one of those shows that set the future, but they only have pop culture that goes up through like
Till
now.
Now, right? Which is hilarious.
Everything is a reference to there's a Kermit the Frog. Yeah, and so we had Caitlin talked about Dolly. Then we had after that was another friend of mine from work that was a fan, the first one to buy a T-shirt, Seth, and we did the dating episode,
the singles bar.
Yeah, that one was a lot of fun. We talked a lot about Schlitz beer commercials.
He bought himself on the show by buying a T-shirt. I like that. That works.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good one.
And then we had my friend Leonore Ortega Till, and she I actually met being a fan of a band that she was in. There's a lot of band-related stuff here. Caitlin's a drummer in a ska band in Seattle now. Leonore is a saxophone player in a ska band. I'm not going for a theme. Five Iron Frenzy, which has been around a while, and so they kind of reunited when they were all like in their mid 40s, and they've been cranking stuff out. But so she did it. We talked about the driver's license.
Oh yeah, that's a great episode.
How my kiddo's working on hers, and her son's working on his, and how Fabian learned to drive in a cemetery with his sister, who was just like, yeah, whatever, go.
Did you teach your kids with fruit and other random items?
No,
items?
We talked about that. We definitely talked about that. Hit the grapefruit.
Cousin, that is a cantaloupe.
Yeah.
Grapefruit.
Well, and they were waiting for him to smash. They just assumed, like you could tell he bought that plunger just to be the stick shift in it.
Yeah. Yeah, we were waiting for that grapefruit to smash too, I think.
Yeah, it just feels like the obvious gag, so maybe it's good that they didn't.
It was like your front row at the Gallagher concert.
Right.
You were going to get splattered with it. Do it.
They brought it back, though, because I think that's what he told him. He's like, hit the grapefruit. He says, I don't know which one is the grapefruit. And then Caitlin came back on for the birthday one, and because someone else didn't work out, and she, she'd be a good backup host or third host anyway, but we had a lot of fun with that one. We were very enamored with Snake.
Snake.
How you doing? I'm Snake. And you know what? He's got a tattoo of a snake on his arm. So that's your name.
She talked about how we do a lot of IMDb deep dives. We also are collecting a master list of how many people on Perfect Strangers were also in Murder, She Wrote.
That's got to be a huge list because they probably are.
It's like 7 or 8 from season 1 alone.
You could probably catch them on Love Boat too. That was another show where everybody
we might wrangle that one. The Murder, She Wrote one was my inspiration because in Star Wars A Minute at one point, in the first trilogy, they checked Bond movies and Christopher Reeve Superman movies and saw all the overlap. And in the newer ones, it's all like it's all Game of Thrones actors and stuff like that. So, so we've got Murder, She Wrote. Maybe we'll do a Murder, She Wrote special.
I mean, that's one of the things I love when we're doing our show is just the tangents of. Sometimes we'll some of the best is when there's a phrase, like a common phrase that he messes up, and then we're like, wait, what's the real phrase? And then we're like, wait, where did this phrase come from? Why did we say this? It makes no sense.
Oh, we did the same thing.
And I also like the sort of the cultural references that some of which we know because we're old enough, and some of which I'm like, I don't know what this is referring to, but then we go on a little learning session when we look it up.
Tweak Cassetti sometimes his references are like 70s and backwards, so sometimes I got to look it up.
Yeah, even Balky's sometimes.
Yeah, they probably had old TV shows.
But especially like if we have any, I don't know if we do, but if we have any younger listeners who are starting to watch Perfect Strangers, I think those explanations will be important for them because they're just not going to know.
I mean, they reference a whole like Abbott and Costello or bit, or no, Laurel and Hardy. It goes back to Laurel and Hardy.
And that comes back later.
Didn't they?
That will come back later.
Seasons. But they, I mean, their whole thing is kind of that. Like they have a classic vaudeville, straight man, buddy comedy. Like, and that's what I've enjoyed so much is how hard it looks like that show was to do, but how easy they make it look. They must have rehearsed so much because the timing on the back and forth stuff and the physical stuff, it's just that's the stuff that I'll just say wow sometimes. I'm like, oh gosh,
the chemistry is amazing, and I think more people need to discover. Like, that the show still holds up and is still hilarious.
It's funny now. It really is. I think it's funnier to me now.
It is.
And it's funny because we had a similar origin story of how we started our show, because we were in the pandemic, right? And we were actually in different cities at the time. We're both in Chicago now, but Imran told me that, hey, did you know all of Perfect Strangers is on Hulu? And I'm just alone in my apartment. I started watching it and found myself just cackling out loud by myself. And then we started messaging each other for every episode. And we had wanted to do a project together for a while and couldn't figure out what that was going to be. And once we started messaging each other on these details of the episodes, we're like, wait a minute, this is it. And I'm like you, Aaron, like when I have an idea, I'm like, wait, I have to map it all out. I have to think it through. I have to perfect it before I start. But Imran, to his credit, we had the idea. And the next week he was like, here's the show notes. Here's what the format is going to be. What do you think? Let's start. And I was like, all right. So that was a good balance for me because he just gets it done.
Starting is the hardest thing. And I'm surprised at myself because I'm such a slacker and it always takes me forever to start things. But I'd already been doing a podcast for several years at that point. And I was like, oh, I just whipped this up. We're done. We're ready. Let's go. You want to do this?
That's a good call.
And somehow we have powered through episode by episode, 4 seasons down. This is our 3rd season break special. I don't know how. Somehow it just gets done. It's all a blur.
Yeah, no.
Because we're having fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where hopefully you start to come up with like a kind of a workflow. Because at first when I was editing, again, I had such long, like our first episode we recorded the first time and I forgot to start my Logic Pro recording my side. So Fabian had my backup audio, but it was really like compressed. And so I edited for a while and I was just like, no, we got to do this again. And I was like, but can we get it the same? And the nice thing is I kept delaying stuff and we kept getting behind so much. But by the time we were like, well, we've got all the other episodes done. We got to do the first one again. We'd kind of forgotten everything we talked about. So we just did it again. And
there's only one rule in podcasting, and that is you have to press record. That's really it.
And he got it. But like, I was like, why did I not like? And of course, no, we did have one of the guests, Luke. Luke Bronner did what's the one I missed?
Check this, the checks episode.
Yeah, the money.
I wrote checks.
Yes. He got a Bug Light and some gum. Is that the one with Twin Cassetti and his wife shows up, which is, of course,
Belita Moreno.
Yeah, who comes back in a different role.
And she is amazing. And as Lydia, because you can almost forget that she played Mrs.
Absolutely. And we realized too that Mr. Gorpley played the guy who played Sam Anderson played the banker.
Yeah, he was the banker. And I was like, is Balky going to be like, didn't you give me a bank account when he started working there?
I know. Well, I mean, it was pretty much that guy. That's his usual kind of character, though. Like it wasn't a whole lot different.
Yeah,
just
same
annoyed.
Ornery, grumpy.
Sam Anderson is great though. Gorpley, and like there are moments where he does kind of get vulnerable, and you buy it.
Yeah,
that is Aaron's cat, by the way. I know the name of your cat.
It's a different one.
Oreo or Sanji?
Oh, you tricked us.
So Fabian's cat is Oreo.
That's Fabian's
the cat in my picture that I guess everybody will see, that is Sanji or Sanjuro, because I may like Akira Kurosawa films a little too much.
Oh, nice.
But we never call him San. I mean, it's Sanji. But that was Henry.
Oh, Henry. Hi, Henry.
He's the young man.
Podcast.
He's the young
man
man of
Perfect
the
Strangers as well.
I didn't even know he was in the room. That was what he was like standing above me on the dresser.
You've heard about Zoom cats. Now introducing.
Did you guys watch this when you were younger, when it first aired?
Yeah. So I was born in 80.
Oh.
So I watched it growing up, and like that was one of the things that was happening when we were rewatching it is my wife and I finished it before it got off Hulu because we were several seasons in when Fabian and I started talking about it. It was fun to be like, I remember this one, because there was ones I probably didn't see, but there was a lot.
So we often talk about this thing that happens when we rewatch episodes and we don't like fully remember the whole episode, but once a certain phrase comes up or a Miposian chant or whatever, suddenly my mouth is like out loud saying the Meposian words out of nowhere from childhood, like it's just in my brain from before. Does that happen to you all?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. We've been talking about that, about the stuff that like gets stuck in. You don't even have to try.
Yeah.
When you're a kid,
right?
Or especially if you have any kind of neurodivergent brain going on, like that stuff is there forever. Like I bet I could name 120 GI Joes.
Oh man, there were even that many. That's a lot.
Wow.
Oh, dude, I went in way too deep on that the other day because I was listening to a book about neurodiversity, ADHD, and autism, and all the different stuff, and they were talking about high functioning autistics still sometimes have the patterning where they have large groups of things memorized.
Sure.
And in the book, the kids that were tested, it was like, Digimon cards. And I was like, and I sat there, I was just driving around that day and I started just naming G.I. Joes. And I was like, I bet I can tell you about 30 or 40 of them, their real name, first and last. I remembered some middle initials and hometowns. And I was like,
of the G.I. Joes?
Oh, yeah. Because they went deep. Back in the 80s, they went deep on them, man.
Hometowns.
Oh, yeah. The birthplace, every one of them's got a birthplace, two core specialties, serial number.
They all have backstories. It was on the back of the card of the character.
Like,
I had a bunch of G.I. Joes.
Yeah, I had it too. And like, I was like, yeah, there's just one of those things where I cut my teeth on like story and creativity with that. And so that's just always going to be, Star Wars.
I mean, you made your own little movies, your own little adventures like that. Yep. That's what was your entertainment back in the day. So you talking about neurodivergent brains. It's kind of a good segue. Something I wanted to ask you about.
Yeah.
Because for the listener, on our last season special, we had one of our listeners and fans, Evelyn
One
Behar.
Of our super fan. She's great. She made a whole amazing Perfect Strangers trivia game, and where there was cards, and we got points, and we lost points. Did I win? I think won.
You did win.
She did win. I listened. I remember she won.
Yeah, I think you did win. I think I went down. But she's great. She's amazing. And apparently there's a 6 degrees of separation with you and her and the show and your show.
Yeah, so we, let's see, this was the beginning of this year. Or mid-February. We had probably put our episodes out, and we hadn't started on the season 2 yet. And just things had picked up and kind of changed for us. And Fabian was on the road with his band, or getting to the point where he is. And that's what he's been doing on and off now. So we were behind on getting season 2 started. And we just had so much life going on. And I finally decided to kind of explore some of the struggles I was having with I got a diagnosis of adult ADHD combined. Combined presenting or whatever. And so I was kind of wrestling with that, and it kind of, my therapist said you basically go through a period of grief and relief at the same time. Because you look back on your life and you're like, oh gosh, that's why things were so sucky or hard. Why a third of my teachers were really mean to me. But also, that's why. And then you're like, oh, I feel good and bad. That's great. And so I ended up spending some more time getting I did kind of a deep dive with some therapy for several weeks. And I had some offhand comments to Evelyn. And I realized she works in the mental health field at university. And so I just kind of bounced it off of her because I was trying to look for where I should kind of take things. And she just gave me some advice. It was really cool. And I was like, oh my gosh, you were the...
Can I interrupt for a second? Where did you meet or come across Evelyn?
Well, Twitter, because she was like, and Instagram, and she was following our stuff too and listening to our show. And then we got to talking via Twitter. So it wasn't completely out of the blue. It was Perfect Strangers.
It was through Perfect Strangers. How amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. And then I heard her on the show and I was like, hey, that's her. Yeah. And we just, traded a tweet, and then I asked her a question, and we slid into the DMs, I guess, and talked about my brain. And so I went, and I've been, getting tested for some stuff. And I mean, it's really exciting. There's a lot of stuff that's really cool about, just creativity and neurodivergent brains. And as a lot of creative people know, that it's like your greatest weapon and your worst enemy at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, as an artist, you're usually your own worst critic, which I find myself in that position.
Right. Like you'll start so many things that don't get finished. And,
I know that struggle.
Or you'll redo something a million times.
Or you won't value it what the amount of time you spend on it, right? You'll undersell yourself. That's another problem. All of those things. Yeah. So I mean, but it's a good experience. It's something I'm still like kind of wrestling with, just because when you learn about it, you realize that everything passes through it. Everything that comes out of you passes through it. Everything that you take in comes through that filter, and you're realizing not everybody has that same experience. And so you're like, oh, so that weird thing I do is weird, but it's also helpful. So I guess it's okay. And, it's just one of those things of balancing that out, and also kind of looking into stuff with my kids, because it tends to be, passed along. Yeah.
My dad and my brother had probably a little bit different form. I seem to have gotten the grab bag as far as the testing goes. So, I mean, I figure once I get a handle on it, I'll be a genius. So, I mean, that's what all the books say. So, but yeah, no, it's been a good journey, and I'm going to blame the last 6 months of that journey on why the podcast is behind.
Hey, listen.
No need for blaming anything.
Yeah, there's no rush. It comes out when it comes out. But wow, the show builds this community and ends up helping people.
Absolutely.
It's wild.
And who would have thought that, like, here we are, 2 podcasts about this one, like 2 very
Perfect
specific
Strangers.
podcasts.
The only 2.
When I talk about the show, when people ask me, like, I say that I co-host a very specific podcast for a very specific audience, or I say it's a very specific 80s nostalgia podcast. And some people get excited and some people are like, what is that?
Right.
But the fact that there are 2 of them and now we're here together talking is like pretty amazing.
It is, and I'm grateful for it. And it was funny because when we started working on our show, I deliberately I listened to y'all's first episode, and then I was like, I can't listen to any more until we finish the first season, because I don't want to be thinking about like what they did. Then I was like, what's going to be our gimmick? We're twice as long. But it's been a good journey, and we're excited to get back on it, and we're going to have everybody back and a bunch of other friends, hopefully. It's been really funny to see the number of people that I didn't know I knew this many musicians, but there's quite a few. I keep trying to get them all together so we can do an episode on the theme song.
Yeah, great.
Oh, we've done a lot of deep digging on the theme song.
Yeah, we found some covers that we played online. It's one of the best theme songs of all the 80s TV shows. It's got to be.
I absolutely agree. And that's one of the reasons I came back to the show, because I remember being interested in it again when you couldn't find it online.
Yeah.
But I was in the waiting room of a hospital delivering a pizza years ago.
Yeah.
And I heard the song. It was being played at the end of The Simpsons.
Oh.
And I can't remember what episode it is. But
we didn't know that
they
one.
used it once.
Oh my God.
I need to find it.
I have to look that up. Yeah.
I literally drove by Wrigley Field today and started singing the song in the car.
Yeah.
Well, so that's the thing. Let's talk about that. You guys are in Chicago.
Yeah.
And Fabian lives in Chicago.
Oh, nice.
All right.
Actually, so you guys, we need to make that happen.
Yeah,
I need to see a picture.
Where are you?
At some point. I'm in Austin, Texas.
Oh,
Nice.
Austin is a great city. I want to visit.
I live in Round Rock.
Okay.
But Fabian and I went to high school in Floydada, Texas, which at the time the population was 3,500 people. I believe it's about 1,000 less at this point.
Oh, it's less. Whoa.
Yeah. No, there's 2 blocks away from my house was just nothing but cotton fields as far as you could see.
Wow.
So, yeah, he and I went to high school there, played in a little band, and I once ran the back of my car the front of my car into the back of his car.
Oh,
perfect.
Oh, fender bender friendship.
Which came up on the car episode.
Of course.
And then you were forever connected.
Yeah.
Aaron, speaking of the theme song, we talked about it on one of our previous season break specials, but have you seen the video of the video game based
I did.
on the opening
I watched
theme?
it after hearing y'all talking about that thing.
That's pretty awesome.
I sent it to him right away. I was like, this is nuts.
So cool.
The guy playing it was one of the best parts.
It was great. Oh my God. I forgot his name, but 8-Bit Massacre, I think it was, YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Oh, and his reactions were great. And it was the weirdest, trippiest video game to play.
But
You're just running through the credits. as Balky or Larry?
No, it's 100% crazy.
I gotta tell you, like watching the show week after week now, kind of like it's back airing to do the show. I really love hanging out with the cousins. Like,
Yeah.
I know.
And I miss them whenever we have to miss a week.
Yeah.
But like just that weekly meet up with the cousins, it just fills me with joy, and they become your friends.
Oh, I know, absolutely. I think I'm a Larry guy now. I think it's because
Interesting.
Balky's. I like everybody. We really like Susan. Actually, we're very sad that we're about to lose her in season 2.
I was
We love
obsessed with
Marianne.
Susan a little bit too. We love Marianne.
Well, of course. I mean, I have no problems with Marianne or anybody else. But yeah, Susan was kind of cool. She's very different character, and I felt bad when she went away because I didn't know about her when I was a kid. But when we watched it now, I was like, no.
I don't know about Jennifer so much, though. I'm still convinced she has zero feelings for Larry.
I don't think she was ever really into Larry the whole 8 seasons.
I'm like, what is she doing?
Yeah. Well, she ended up marrying one of the writers. I think.
Interesting.
One of the producers. Like they're still together.
Oh, nice.
Like Miller and Boyette. I believe it's one of them.
Wow.
No, not them. The two guys that were the showrunners, though. I think it was one of them, actually.
Interesting.
And I'm blanking on their name. It's just it's definitely that kind of comfort food kind of show for sure.
It's 22 minutes of joy, especially like year one of that pandemic when we were all just kind of stuck inside and like some of us on our own and didn't know what to do. Like it was 22 minutes of joy and you could binge right through it and it was great.
Yep.
Because I was just shocked it was still good. Because I pulled up some other shows that when I was a kid thought were amazing, and you watch them again and you're like, oh my, this is garbage. Like I always thought MacGyver was just brilliant, and I watched it and I'm like, this is horrible.
Well, I think what makes Perfect Strangers stand the test of time and still work today is because their strength were on the wordplay and the dialogue and the physical comedy. And that kind of physical comedy we don't see so much in our current modern shows. I can't really think of, there's like a little bit of physical comedy here and there, but not this style or this much of it.
I feel like you're more likely to see it in movies.
Right. Right. So like that is humor that is timeless, right? Like that's like hitting at the very reasons why human beings laugh at things. Yeah. And, I don't know if you know this, Aaron, but I do stand-up comedy and we talk about the science of humor and the science of laughter and what like basic things make people laugh, like the unexpected or relating to something, etc. And so I think this show really captured like the wordplay, the puns, the twists, the unexpected things in the dialogue. And then just the physical comedy,
the timing,
of course,
some of my favorite stuff was the alliteration stuff.
Yes,
we love the alliteration.
That's so difficult,
and the botching of like American idioms.
Basically,
and I love when Larry says them back.
Yeah,
almost without any irony. He just repeats them the way that
Balky stares at his mouth while he's repeating them. Yeah.
But yeah, I think the other thing that makes the show work is that even though it's very sitcom version of it, their problems were always like actual things that we all still deal with as adults.
Yeah.
Whereas Full House, Family Matters, some of it was that, but there's a big emphasis, and there's nothing wrong with this, especially in that time, but there's a big emphasis on the cute kid stuff.
Right.
And the kid problems, the kid problem at school and stuff like that. And this show, it's weird to say this show is adult, but like there's hardly a child ever in this show. And although there's Marianne and Balky, but like actually Larry's the biggest child in the show. But
it's true.
It's different. Like his problems, his neurosis, his fears, his wanting to be his own man, him wanting to be, he
is the lovable loser archetype.
Yeah.
And Balky is sort of the fish out of water type.
Yeah, they crushed it. They nailed it. Yeah. And I think that's why it holds up. And I think it's why when you think of old sitcoms that hold up, I think of two others that had relationship and physical comedy down. And I think I Love Lucy and I think of the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
both of those hold up too. Like those, like we still watch both of those shows too.
Those are great points. Like I relate to Larry more older. Like I think you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
And because I see myself in that position sometimes.
24-year-old Larry in 1989 or whatever feels like a 45-year-old.
Yeah, I think he was 32 when he started.
Yeah, but his character was meant to be in his 20s.
Although Louis Anderson wasn't 24 either, so I don't know.
That was the original, and the original pilot. It was going to be Louis.
Yeah, Fabian did a little impersonation of Louis. He said, "It's my cousin," or whatever. He just did it out of the blue. Cracked us up.
And then the other good point you made is a lot of those sitcoms did rely on there's cute kids in every sitcom, right? Think about it. There's kid, and then when those kids grew up, they would insert a new kid. And that's when the show jumps the shark.
Yeah. Right.
Yep. They did it on all those shows.
Every show.
And Full House was just lucky enough to have so many going on that they were able to stretch it out. But a lot of those shows.
Well, then, no, Uncle Jesse brought in the twins.
Right.
That's right. Because even Michelle got too old
Michelle
to
got
be
old
cute.
and
they had
she hit
twins.
5 and she was out of,
Oh my God, she's aging out of the sitcom age at 5. It's crazy.
Even Family Matters had like the little sibling.
The little nephew.
Yeah. But then it was Steve Urkel just kind of stole the show, right? He just takes it over.
He totally did.
I believe coming up, though, I haven't watched ahead too far, but I believe doesn't Perfect Strangers try to insert a kid at some point?
We've already seen where we are in our process. We've seen one episode where there was like a neighbor kid and a bike or something.
Bicycle.
So I think they tried a couple things with children.
What season was Reginald Vell Johnson in? Because when Harriet basically
4.
left.
That's the season.
Perfect Strangers.
That's the season we just finished, season 4. So
cool. That's a fun episode.
Yeah.
And boy, he's already full on Carl Winslow in that episode.
He's so charming instantly, right?
I love him so much.
He's great in Die Hard.
They should have just made him John McClane's sidekick in all the movies.
In all the Die Hard
because it was a total waste.
I do want to mention another Bronson Pinchot role we have yet to bring up on the show, and it's what we were talking about earlier. I was talking about my sister. One of my favorite Bronson Pinchot roles of all time has to be from Beverly Hills Cop.
Serge.
As Serge, and the line where he's just like, "What is this pertaining?" But Eddie Murphy's like, "What?" He's like, "Pertaining. What is it pertaining?"
That was all ad-libbed, and Eddie Murphy didn't know that was coming, and you can see him trying to not break.
It is a hilarious scene. The whole scene is so fun. His accent is so great. And apparently that was written, it was supposed to be just like an effeminate American gay stereotype, right?
And he just went.
And he does this.
He just
went elevates
over the top.
it. Yeah, but he kind of elevates it.
I mean, I think that led to Balky.
Yeah. All right, we're going to wrap this up with a quick game I just came up with. Aaron, you've heard of the game Wordle, right?
Yep.
Okay, we're not playing that. Have you heard of Heardle?
I don't think I did. I've seen Moviedle, which totally doesn't roll off the tongue.
Moviedle is great.
Heardle is with music. So it gives you like a very short clip of a song, and then you get a guess, and you can skip that, and you get a next. If you can't
get it, you get a little bit more,
subsequent longer segment until you can guess the song, and it can be any song. And there have been like 70 some spin-offs of Heardle.
Yeah, there's 80s Heardle, there's 90s Heardle,
there's specific Heardles, Prince Heardle, this and that Heardle,
80s, 90s R&B.
We're gonna do.
We're
doing TV theme song Heardle 80s edition. I made this up on the spot.
80s sitcom Heardle. And I don't know what's coming up. Only Imran knows.
I'm gonna let Aaron guess first. If he misses it, Sophia, you can take a crack at it.
Aaron, and then I'll.
And if you win, you get points. You win nothing. So okay, here we go. This one maybe should be. I'm not gonna play the Perfect Strangers theme song, so everybody knows that. We're gonna go with this one.
Well, that was Full House.
Actually.
Wait. This Family Matters.
Yeah. All right. We'll give it to you.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Wow.
That is tricky because here's the next one I'm going to give you. And it sounds a lot like the first one.
That's Full House.
That's Full House. Yeah. Isn't it?
They do have, I'm sure, I mean, it's the same people.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? Probably the same people writing the songs.
Yeah.
That was that Dynasty, man. The TGIF Miller Boyette, Monopoly.
Every theme song kind of sounded the same.
The theme songwriters from the 80s to be guests on our shows.
All right. So he got Family Matters and Full House. Let's do one more. Let's do another one.
Okay, well, I mean,
I know.
do you want that one? I know
You know
that
it?
one, but do you? I mean, it's Growing Pains.
Yeah.
Don't waste another minute on
You know, I thought they did an amazing job on WandaVision when they did all those songs.
I thought WandaVision was so special the way they did all the sitcom eras.
Yeah, there's a million great things about that
They
show.
nailed it, and it was very good.
But the songwriter team, it's the folks that did Frozen and
Yes.
did like Book of Mormon and all that.
Yeah.
At this point, I think the husband has an Oscar, a Tony, a Grammy.
Oh, does he have an EGOT?
I think he just needs
got
an Emmy.
He just needs the
He's close to an EGOT. I think he might have gotten. No, he got an EGOT because WandaVision won an Emmy for Agatha All Alone.
Oh yeah, the song. Yeah,
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and I love how they every season, every decade, they perfectly captured.
Oh, I
In the
thought they
theme song.
really nailed the Malcolm in the Middle.
Yes. Oh yeah, that was great too. Yeah.
They Bound Me Giants,
Yeah.
and then they their Growing Pains Family Ties esque one with the pictures and the music. That one was pretty well done.
That was
too.
spot
Like,
on.
Nice.
Speaking of which, here's your next hurdle.
okay.
Ha.
Ooh. Oh. She can steal it if she wants to.
You need some more? I'll play some more.
Is it Family Ties?
That
just
is
said it, yeah.
Family Ties.
Family
Well
Ties.
done.
But wait, what are the opening lyrics?
That's what I was waiting for. Oh, what were they?
I bet we've been
I'll know when you
together
say 'em.
for a million years, and I bet we'll be together for a million more.
That's a very sweet song.
It is a very sweet song, and the paintings of the family.
yeah.
in the
Yeah,
beginning.
Growing Pains song might be a little too sweet, but the Family Ties is in the.
That's Alan Thicke singing, right?
He sang
Was
a
it
lot
the
of
growing-
them. He sang a lot of them. He sang the Growing Pains
In the Growing
song.
Oh,
Pains
yeah.
one,
He's saying
yeah.
Growing Pains. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're right.
All right, we're gonna get a little bit harder here.
Ooh.
Here's your
Okay.
next one.
Oh, I know this.
Is that Belvedere?
Yes.
on the china.
I was just waiting for the trombone.
I believe that's Leon Redbone.
I think you're
Did
right.
that one, which he's a great artist.
Yep.
Okay, one last show. You're killing this. You're doing so good. I'm very
Excellent.
very
All the
impressed.
points.
Like we said, the stuff that's not important, that's the stuff
Yep.
you keep.
That's how my brain works. Also, let me see. Okay, this one may throw you for a loop here. Let's do this one.
That's the greatest American hero.
Yes, it is. Great. I love this one.
I know that is a good one too. That is one of my favorites. Favorite songs.
Wait, what was it? I
The
missed
greatest American hero. It's not a
Greatest
sitcom.
American
It was
Hero.
a. the
I mean,
superhero
it was
show.
a comedy.
It was a comedy. William Catt was hilarious, and then we can't forget George Costanza's answering message.
Well, I was going to say that's
Oh,
what
right.
brought that song back
Yeah,
to me
yeah.
in college. Was one of my best friends. He made his answering machine message. Believe it or not, I'm not home. And
George isn't at
it.
home.
Believe it or not, I'm not home.
Yeah.
yeah, he really laid into that last note, and so that was in my head all through college because anytime you called him, and we didn't have cell phones at that point. We all had
That was
room
before
phones.
Seinfeld?
Not before Seinfeld.
No,
The
that
song
was
was before Seinfeld.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it was when Seinfeld was out, but we didn't have cell phones, and so we all
Yeah.
had just actual
Right,
voicemail
answering machines.
at the school. They had actually gotten voicemail at the school at the time. It was really weird. We had mailboxes, but he ended up being the only one with a cell phone by the time we graduated. Because I was like,
Right.
ooh,
I didn't have a
fancy.
cell phone till I was in my 20s.
I didn't have one
Yeah,
till
me
after
either.
college, yeah.
I think I was 22, 23.
These kids have no
It was
idea.
the Spider-Man phone.
Oh, it was a
from Sony
Spider-Man
Ericsson.
phone. Oh, I like that. I like just like his pajamas. His Spider-Man
Yep.
pajamas.
Pajamas. Because my He-Man pajamas were in the laundry. Is there another theme song?
We'll do one more. He's killing
Do one
it.
more.
All right, one more.
And then one more, and then we'll get him on here. Let me see here. Spin the wheel. And do I want to make it hard?
Yeah, do it.
You want to do it? Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. This one. All right. Let's do this one.
Oh.
Inspector Gadget.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a great.
That was a
piece.
cartoon.
This is it's a cartoon, but I love again another great 80s sound song that I
Yeah.
love that song.
Classic.
Do, 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 do. Well,
were there words to that song?
no, it just goes
no.
Inspector Gadget, go Gadget, go. Remember, go.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Gadget,
It was just Inspector Gadget.
Yeah,
That's a whole other discussion, like 80s cartoon theme songs.
Oh my God, yes.
DuckTales,
Thundercats,
best.
Thundercats.
Pole Position was one of my favorite
Pole Position.
songs.
I remember that, and I remember the video game.
The synth was alive. I mean, Transformers, G.I. Joe, everybody remembers that one. Like Thundercats, Mask.
He-Man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He-Man.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Y'all should look up Punk Rock Factory.
Oh.
They're on Apple Music, and they're a British punk band that's basically living their best life right now, covering just entire albums of Disney or
no way.
Saturday morning
Punk
cartoons.
versions. That's amazing.
Yeah. And sometimes they'll do the Disney ones. They'll get guest vocalists and stuff. But yeah, I mean, Darkwing Duck. Stuff from Frozen, but also stuff from going Lion King. All of it. Nice. It's pretty fun. But yeah, I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, man. Thanks for hanging out.
Us.
Thanks for being, and congratulations on being the only other Perfect Strangers podcast.
That's right.
Why don't you tell the listener where they can find you and how to get the show?
We are on most things at this point. Your Stitchers and your Spotifys and Apple and most of the others. You can go to our website is perfectstrangerspodcast.com.
That's such a great URL. Why didn't I buy that?
I know.
Very
I
jealous.
was like, what are we going to do? Because Perfect Strangers or Don't Be Ridiculous was one. And then I was like, you know what? People are going to be like, hey, what's the name of that Perfect Strangers podcast?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And I was like,
smart, very smart.
Just search that. And it links to our TeePublic merch store and a Tumblr that I barely use and Instagram, and that stuff will pick up more when the show picks back up. So hopefully Fabian and I'll figure out next week. We're going to try to figure out when we start recording again. So
I'll have all those links in the show description for the listeners. So now look, you got 2 Perfect Stranger shows to binge on. Isn't life?
That's right.
Wonderful.
That's right.
All Perfect Strangers, all the time.
We just started
Exactly.
network. Thanks, Aaron.
Especially with hour-long episodes.
Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thanks for joining us.
Y'all have a good one.
That was a lot of fun meeting the only other Perfect Strangers podcast in existence. It's still so crazy to me.
So fun.
I love that it's just the two of us. So I hope you guys will check out Don't Be Ridiculous and Aaron and Fabian.
To me, it gives me a little feeling of credibility that we had this idea for this weird idea for a very specific 80s nostalgia podcast. But not only do people listen to us, but somebody else had the same weird idea for a very specific 80s nostalgia podcast. So I feel validated.
That's the beauty of the podcast. If you talk about something you're into, no matter how niche-y, there's somebody else out there that also enjoys it, and they will find your content. It's fantastic.
That's right.
And I love doing these season break specials in between. It's kind of a nice way to just kind of decompress after the season and, take a break from the episode format. And
it's also a good way for us to give our listeners a little bit more insight into who we are outside of this podcast.
We do other things, right? So we're going to take this opportunity to plug some of our other stuff. And the reason I thought of this is we talked about with Aaron Die Hard and Beverly Hills Cop and great 80s action movies. Well, listener, if you're into 80s action movies, on my other podcast, the Jock and Nerd Podcast, we just did a massive 80s action movie tournament showdown on the show, bracket style, determining down to the one greatest action movie. And there were some hard matchups, some tough choices to make. If you love 80s action movies and you love March Madness, definitely check it out. You can find it at jockandnerd.com/445. It's episode 445 of that show. I will put a link in the description. It was a lot of fun and some surprising results. So it ties in. It's more 80s nostalgia and love.
Imran is all about the 80s all the time.
I don't listen to music past 1999.
In his free time, he's actually working on a time machine. I don't know if I was supposed to mention that.
Shut up.
He's
Don't tell him I
going
need to go back
back
there.
to the 80s.
I'm going to quantum leap myself back there somehow. What about you, sister? What have you been doing? What are you up to?
I do not have another 80s podcast.
No.
But what I do is I moonlight as a comedian and a writer. So if you'd like to check out some of my work, you can find me at sophiajavid.com. You can see clips. I've been putting up some clips on Instagram lately. I'm at Soph Javid on Instagram and Twitter. But all my social links are on the website, sophiajavid.com. If you'd like to go, check it out, give it a like, give it a follow, share some of those clips. That would be amazing.
I love your stand-up, and I'm not just saying this because I'm your brother. Like, legitimately, you're very good. You're very funny. You got great timing.
Yeah, don't be fooled, listeners. He would be my biggest critic, the first to tell me what's landing and what's not landing. So that's high praise coming from
I would tell you
from
if it
my
wasn't
big
funny.
brother.
Oh my God.
For sure he would.
No,
for sure
funny.
he would.
But it's solid. Check out her
I
clips.
appreciate
yes,
that.
very good. Listener, if you want to get involved in the conversation here on the show, here's how that works. We have a wonderful Facebook group, Dance of Joy Podcast Facebook group. I'll put a link in the description. It is where I post a thread for every episode we're going to record a few weeks ahead of time. So you can leave your comments, thoughts, observations, questions, and we roll it into the show. I love hearing from the listeners. I love getting all the comments from you guys. You could also meet other Perfect Strangers fans. There are many coming out of the woodwork, listening to the show, finding the show, joining the group. It's fantastic. Shout out to a new group member, sister. Who's our new group member?
Our new group member, welcome. Big welcome to Cousin Eric Saul.
Hi, Cousin Eric.
And Cousin Eric, when he found us just recently, said something that I think a lot of our listeners must think or have even expressed, is that I never knew there was someone else out there as into Perfect Strangers as I am. And I'm like, oh boy, join our group. We're all here.
It's true. I mean, again, it's niche-y, but the fans are out there. It's probably one of the best 80s TV sitcoms that came out. If you think about all of them, we talked about this a little bit. It still holds up. Number one, of course. Next week, we will return back to your regularly scheduled program.
Yes, where the cousins do one of my favorite activities from the 80s and even today.
What's
they
that?
go roller skating.
Oh, I love the roller skating.
And the old school quad style roller skates. None of these rollerblades.
Not inline. We're talking
Not
2x2.
inline.
We'll have some stories about that I already can think of. We have some roller skating stories from our youth.
Yes, we do.
Share. But yes, next week, season 5, it is TGIF is on.
Finally.
Fall of 1989. Get ready, catch up. Of course, you can find the show on Amazon Freebie no fee. Amazon no fee. Anyways, it's all online streaming for you to watch. I can't get the words out. But if you want to support this show, listeners, a couple of things you could do. You could buy us a virtual coffee. Visit our website, danceofjoypod.com/support. There's a buy us a coffee button there. All the proceeds go back into keeping the show running to cover hosting and maintenance costs, and we appreciate any and all support. Thank you to everyone who has bought us several coffees.
And if you can't support us with a virtual coffee, that's totally okay too. You can do us a second. And if you can't support us with a virtual coffee, that's totally okay too. You can support us by just visiting our website, danceofjoypod.com, and from there you can get to all our social media accounts. You can give us a like, a follow, you can become friends with us from that website. You can also leave us ratings and reviews on all the podcast platforms, and if you just want to say hi and tell us you appreciate our show, tell us your favorite episode from season 4 of Perfect Strangers, you can leave us a voice message from right there on the podcast or send us an old-fashioned email at danceofjoypod@gmail.com. But Imran, what is the most important things our listeners should do?
Always look both ways before you cross the street because, you don't want an accident. No, the most important thing, the best way to support the show is to share the show. Again, we talk about this all the time. There are closet Perfect Strangers fans out there. You got to find them and turn them on to the show. Watch it with your family. Listen to the podcast.
Word of mouth is absolutely the best way to spread this love. Like we always say, Perfect Strangers has been 22 minutes of joy, especially during these pandemic years. So we would love to keep spreading that joy through our podcast. And if you can do us a favor and tell your friends, that would be great.
Thanks for listening. And now we are so happy.
Now we are so happy we do the dance of joy.
Hey, 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 hey.